Hi everyone, I'm MacKenzie with the Beaverton City Library here at Murray Shoals, and today I'm going to share with you some of my favorite savory recipes that I like to make during the winter. All of these are cookbooks that you can borrow from the library, and most of them are cookbooks that I actually own and actively cook from. So let's get started. Our first cookbook today is Betty Crocker's Cookbook. Now, this is the 2016 edition, and this one is not mine. I don't cook from this edition. I actually use my 1969 edition. So I just wanted to point out that I have compared recipes, and they are very slightly different from each other, but they are still, I'm sure, classics. So this is a recipe that I grew up with and I continue to make today. And it is the Betty Crocker's baking powder biscuits right on this page. Now, sometimes I'll make the baking powder biscuits. Sometimes I'll do the buttermilk variation. Either way, it's an excellent base biscuit recipe. Sometimes I'll add in cheese and herbs. And also because I am so lazy and I don't like to roll out the dough and cut out the biscuits, I will just turn them into drop biscuits. And the 2016 edition has directions on how you can do a drop biscuit variation, but I actually don't change anything. I just use the regular recipe and I just turn them into drop biscuits and it turns out just fine. I also use this recipe to make a sort of cheat cinnamon and sugar biscuit that's quite delicious. All right, so that was Betty Crocker's Cookbook. Next up, we have Nadiya Hussain's Time to Eat, and this is these are recipes that are mostly from her Netflix show. She's got a couple on Netflix, and the one recipe in here that I want to point out that I have made repeatedly is her blender beets recipe. And I think of beets as being sort of like a winter vegetable. Look at that. It's gorgeous. And I like to cook and bake with in-season produce whenever possible. So she says in the show that this recipe is so easy and so fast, and it's not a lie. It's so easy and so fast. I think she uses canned or jarred beets, but I typically buy my beets raw, and then I roast them, and then I just follow the directions. So essentially you throw everything into the blender, you boil your pasta, and you top it and you mix it together, and then you top it with some feta cheese and some dill, and it's delicious. I think I've also tried when I don't have feta, but I have other sort of soft cheeses. I'll use those as well. So sometimes I have Chev, and I'll use that instead. All right, next we have my favorite cookbook, and this is the Smitten Kitchen Cookbook from Deb Perelman. So this is the one you can borrow from the library. And as you can see, this is my copy. It is very well loved and well used. And I even have tabs for some of my favorite recipes that I make repeatedly. So these are some recipes that I repeatedly make. The first one, again, some in-season produce, is the butternut squash and caramelized onion galette. It's so good. Speaking of those in-season vegetables, right? Sweet potatoes, yum. And the dough for the crust is a little bit different in that it has you use a sour cream, or it says a full-fat Greek yogurt. I typically use either whatever I have on hand, whether it's sour cream or a regular full-fat yogurt. I don't eat Greek yogurt, but Nancy's full-fat yogurt, I'll go ahead and use that, and it works out just fine. All right. It's so good. It's so yummy. All right. Next recipe is... Ooh, these are good. This is her pancetta, white bean, and Swiss chard pot pies. And you can't really see what's in them, obviously, but they're really delicious. I like Swiss chard a lot. Sometimes, though, if I don't have it on hand, I might include a different leafy green, such as spinach or kale, but I do really like Swiss chard, so it's a great excuse for me to buy it. Also, I often, I don't eat a lot of pork or red meat, so I usually don't include the pancetta, and it's perfectly delicious without it. But if you do eat meat, pancetta is great. Also, you can use bacon instead. So, a really cozy dish to make. And because you make these in individual bowls, just make sure that you have some oven-safe bowls. So I have a couple bowls that I use for a variety of things, but specifically I know they are my oven-safe pot pie bowls. All right. Last but not least, I have Deb Perelman's second cookbook, Smitten Kitchen Every Day, Triumphant and Unfussy New Favorites. So this one I also own. I have cooked from less, not quite as much as her first cookbook. So I think this recipe I've only made once, but it is so good. Anything I feel like that involves like warm, gooey, browned cheese and a carb, that feels like winter to me. So this tomato and gigante bean bake, aka pizza beans, yum. And it even has a recipe for her go-to garlic bread right over here. It does not go-to garlic bread from scratch because that would take ages, right? And these are unfussy new favorites. So it's just essentially like a baguette that you get from the store and then directions on how to make it garlicky and delicious. So, yum. It's so good. She recently reposted it on one of her social media accounts, and I was thinking, oh gosh, I want to make that again. It was so good. All right, last recipe for you, and I actually just made this recipe last night, and I've made this recipe multiple times, and it is her Brussels and 3 cheese pasta bake. So it has Brussels sprouts, pasta. The recipe calls for 3 kinds of cheese. I usually only use 2. So the recipe calls for Parmesan, Gruyere, and Fontina, but I usually don't have any or all 3 of those. So instead of Gruyere, I'll use Swiss. Fontina, I'll usually sub in some Swiss. And then Parmesan, I might have Parmesan. I might have another kind of like hard Italian cheese like that. But I wouldn't necessarily go out of my way and use, say, like cheddar or mozzarella because that's really soft. But yeah, Swiss is a great substitute. All right, those are my favorite savory recipes to make during the winter. I hope you found a new recipe to try out and maybe a new cookbook to borrow. Thank you so much.